What to do when you feel like you don't know what your research is even about anymore? I want to talk about this today because I feel that's a very common thing that happens in the PhD process, where you just started from one thing and then ended up doing something completely different, and you just don't know how to move forward because you sort of thought you were going in one direction and then you ended up going in a completely different one. So now you're wondering, like, what is my research even about? Like, I don't know anymore. And I want to discuss a little bit this issue and why it happens, and there are several reasons for it. First of all, it's because research works this way. Basically, you start with one question and you end up doing something completely different, mostly because you found an answer and then you think it's more interesting, or you think it's better for the process, for the research process itself, and then you start pursuing that. And when you stop to move a little bit backwards, to look backwards, you realize that you have diverged so much from your original research question, which isn't a bad thing. It's something just to take into account and you have to take in mind when it comes to designing your research, designing your project, and then of course trying to make sense of your thesis or paper. So this is the reason why it happens. How can you what doesn't work in those cases? Like, how you shouldn't handle that? Like, definitely one of the ways you shouldn't handle that is the feeling that is doing the thing that you're like, okay, I have so many loose threads, I don't know how to continue with my research, so I'm just going to investigate in some certain way, whatever feels natural to me or whatever feels easier, that's something that I will do. And this doesn't work because you always, when you are doing research in mind with having a thesis done or a paper published, you always have to think a little bit about what makes sense in the broader picture. Like, what is the logical next step I have to take in order for my research to make sense in my thesis, in my paper, or to the people that are going to read it. So this is something that you have to take into account. But how can one do that? One of the best strategies that I used both in my PhD and something that I do with all of my clients is to actually put structure in the chaos. So if you're in that stage in which you're like, I have so many things, I don't even know what my research is saying anymore, then it's really super important to take a step back and to take a look at the things that you already have. Like, where are all those loose results actually pointing at? Do they contradict themselves? Do they point in the same direction? Which is the direction? Maybe there are several directions you can take from the point where you're at, so you have to make a very executive decision towards what are you going to actually investigate from now on, and so on. This is why it's super important to put all of those things together and make sure that you can make sense of that, because that's going to be the backbone for your thesis and for your paper in the future. So if you are in that stage of your PhD in which you feel that you don't know what your research is about anymore, in which you feel that you sort of don't know where to even start from, you are blocked because there are so many things and everything feels urgent and you just don't know where to put your hands and mind to first, I want to invite you to schedule a completely free intro coaching call with me. I will leave a link down below in the description where you can do so. And in that meeting, we can discuss exactly where you're at with your research, what are your current struggles, your current challenges, and what are the tangible, exact next steps you should take in order to move a little bit closer towards that thesis or that publication, whether on your own or with my help and support. So I hope that you found this video useful, and as always, see you in the next few days with another video. Bye-bye.